Hello everyone and welcome to another Wernicke video. In this video we're going to talk about emotional intelligence at work and review some conversation questions and learn a lot of vocabulary while taking a look at some possible responses. The first question for this video is, how does emotional intelligence affect teamwork? So we're talking about working in teams and collaboration and how emotional intelligence has an impact there. I'm going to read you a possible response. Emotional intelligence can make or break teamwork. When team members are in tune with each other's emotions, it's easier to collaborate and get things done without stepping on anyone's toes. Teams with high emotional intelligence are like well-oiled machines. They handle hiccups smoothly and support each other through thick and thin, making the workplace a happier, more productive place. I'm going to read it part by part, and we're going to understand the vocabulary, learn some vocabulary there. Emotional intelligence can make or break teamwork. Make or break means to see if something succeeds or fails, to cause success or failure. So, emotional intelligence can make or break teamwork. It means whether teamwork succeeds or if it fails totally depends on emotional intelligence. It is the cause for success or failure. I can read you an example. The presentation can make or break the deal. So imagine you are trying to negotiate a deal with a customer and you're going to make a presentation to them so you can show them that this is a good deal. If this presentation fails, the deal fails. If the presentation is good, the deal will happen. So you can say the presentation will make or break the deal. Okay, I'm going to continue with our text. When team members are in tune with each other's emotions, in tune with means to understand and agree. To understand and agree with each other. To be in tune with each other. For example, good leaders are in tune with their team's needs. So it means good leaders can understand the needs of their employees. Good leaders know and understand what their teams need. So we can say they are in tune with their needs. They are in tune with their team's needs. I'll continue. It's easier to collaborate and get things done without stepping on anyone's toes. Without stepping on anyone's toes. Stepping on someone's toes is to offend someone, to cause trouble, or to make someone unhappy. Basically, to offend someone. I'm going to read you an example. He tried to avoid stepping on anyone's toes during the meeting. So when you're in a meeting, you try to avoid offending someone. You try to avoid making people unhappy or upsetting someone. So you say, I try to avoid stepping on someone's toes, or I try to avoid stepping on anyone's toes. I'll get back to the text. Teams with high emotional intelligence are like well-oiled machines. Well-oiled machines means a machine that functions properly, a system that functions without any problems, smoothly functioning. For example, the team worked like a well-oiled machine to complete the project, so the team worked without any problems and in a smooth way. Okay, so these teams, they are like well-oiled machines. They handle hiccups smoothly. Handle hiccups. Hiccups are small problems or interruptions. And to handle hiccups is to deal with those issues, to deal with small problems. I'm going to read you an example. They were able to handle hiccups quickly and efficiently. If you were able to handle a difficult situation or a series of small issues, then you say, I was able to handle hiccups smoothly and efficiently and quickly. So they support each other through thick and thin. Through thick and thin means in good and bad times, during good or bad times. As an example, true friends stick together through thick and thin. If you're good friends, you stick together. If it's a good time or a bad time, you stick together. Good friends, true friends, stick together through thick and thin. Okay, making the workplace a happier, more productive place. So basically, the response is saying that if the members of a team have high emotional intelligence, they can work well with each other, understand each other's feelings, and it's like a well oiled machine. There will not be any hiccups, or you can deal with those hiccups easily. That's the response that we had. Now, we're going to continue with our next question. The question is, what's the difference between emotional intelligence, or as they call it, EI, and IQ? IQ is intelligence quotient. So the question is asking what's the difference between EI and IQ. What you can do here is pause the video and try to respond to this question yourselves as a speaking practice. I know it may sound awkward for someone to speak with themselves, but that's how you can improve your speaking. Anyways, I'm going to read the possible response to this question, and then we are going to learn a lot of vocabulary. So here it is. Emotional intelligence and IQ are like apples and oranges. They measure completely different things. While IQ is all about your brain power and how well you can solve logical problems, emotional intelligence is about how you manage feelings and relationships. So you could be a genius on paper, but still struggle with social interactions if your emotional intelligence is low. So I'm going to read this part by part, and we're going to learn some vocabulary there. Emotional intelligence and IQ are like apples and oranges. When you say something is like, or two things are like apples and oranges, it means you should not compare them. They are not comparable. The two of them are not comparable. Let me give you an example. If I say, which one is more, 2 meters or 5 minutes? You say like, they're apples and oranges. Like, meters is one thing, minutes is something else. You cannot compare them. They measure two different things. One is about time, one is about distance. So that's the meaning of apples and oranges. Apples and oranges means completely different things. I'm going to read you an example. Comparing these two jobs is like comparing apples and oranges. So basically the answer is like, these two jobs are different. They don't compare them. I'm going to get back to the text. They measure completely different things. While IQ is all about your brain power and how well you can solve logical problems, emotional intelligence is about how you manage your feelings and relationships. I like the usage of while in this sentence. Pay attention to where it's used. It's used as the beginning, at the beginning of your sentence. So you start with while, then you say the first thing, then you use comma, and then you talk about the other thing. For example, while I'm a teacher, you are an engineer. So here I'm comparing my job to your job, and I'm using comma in the middle and while in the beginning. We also have the word brain power here. Brain power. Brain power is intellectual ability. It's about your intelligence. For example, his brain power is evident in his quick problem-solving skills. Okay, I'm gonna read the next sentence. So you could be a genius on paper, but still struggle with social interactions. A genius on paper. On paper means theoretically, not really, or in theory, or according to records. So if something is true only in paper or on paper, not in real life, then you can say on paper. So you could be a genius on paper, but still struggle with social interactions. Social interactions is about communicating with others. For example, emotional intelligence helps in social interactions. All right. By the way, I'm going to read you an example for the previous word we learned. We learned the word on paper, but I didn't read you any examples. So I'm going to read it again. Again, the meaning is in theory, not in reality. And here's the meaning. Here's the example. On paper, he has all the qualifications for the job, but his emotional intelligence is lacking. So imagine someone has had a job interview, and you look at their resume and say, well, they seem to have everything. Why didn't they get the job? And the person says, on paper, they're good. When you look at their resume, it's perfect. On paper, they're good. But I had an interview and this person lacks emotional intelligence that we require. So that's the usage of the phrase on paper. Also, we had the word struggle. We said you might struggle with social interactions. Struggle is to have difficulty with something. If something is not easy for you. For example, he struggles to understand his coworkers' feelings. He struggles to understand his coworkers' feelings. He has a lack of empathy. Okay, so that was our text. We learned some phrases there, and now we can have a quick pause and then continue with our next question. All right, let's continue with our next question. How can emotional intelligence help in resolving conflicts? It's about conflict resolution and the role of emotional intelligence in doing so. You might want to pause the video and respond to this question yourselves before hearing my response or the response that I have here. So I'm going to read it. Emotional intelligence is like a secret weapon for resolving conflicts. When you keep your emotions in check and understand where the other person is coming from, it's easier to find a win-win situation. A win-win solution, sorry. People with high emotional intelligence don't fly off the handle. Instead, they listen, empathize, and work towards a compromise that keeps everyone happy. Okay, I'm going to read it again, and we're going to take a look at the vocabulary there. Emotional intelligence is like a secret weapon for resolving conflicts. A secret weapon is a hidden advantage. If you have something that helps you, but it's hidden, it's a secret weapon. For example, her attention to detail is her secret weapon at work. When you keep your emotions in check and understand where the other person is coming from. So there are two things here we can learn. Keep your emotions in check. When you say keep something in check, it means you control it. To keep something in check. I'm going to read you the exact phrase we are using here. Keep your emotions in check to control your feelings. For example, he tried to keep his emotions in check during the argument. It's always a good idea if you're in an argument with someone, keep your emotions in check. Keep them under control. And the other part is to understand where the other person is coming from. I like this expression because if you don't know that it's an expression, you might say, okay, where is the other person coming from? I don't know. They come from Brazil, they come from China, but that's not the phrase. That's not what it means. If you say you know where the other person is coming from, it means you understand why they do what they do. You understand the reason behind their actions. I'm going to read you the exact meaning we have here. Where the other person is coming from means to understand another's perspective, to understand why they do what they do, to understand their perspective. As an example, understanding where the other person is coming from helps in resolving disputes. It helps to understand where they're coming from if you want to resolve disputes. Sometimes it helps to understand where they're coming from when you're negotiating with someone. Imagine you're negotiating for a product and they can't give you a discount or they can't give you what you want. And you say, I understand where you're coming from. It means I understand your concerns, I understand your perspective, I understand your limits. And then you can continue, but I have my own restraints. I also have my own limits. So I understand where you're coming from, but that's one of the strategies you can use, one of the phrases you can use in negotiating. Okay, I'm going to continue. When you keep your emotions in check and understand where the other person is coming from, it's easier to find a win-win situation. Oh God, solution. That's the second time I'm making that mistake. People with high emotional intelligence don't fly off the handle. Fly off the handle is to lose temper suddenly. To lose temper, like you lose control of your emotions. For example, she tends to fly off the handle when things don't go her way. It means we're talking about a girl who, when things don't go the way that she likes, she loses temper. She tends to fly off the handle when things don't go her way. Tends to means this regularly happens. If something happens regularly, you say it tends to happen. So she tends to lose temper or fly off the handle when things don't go her way, when things don't happen the way that she likes them to. So that's the phrase, fly off the handle. People with high emotional intelligence don't fly off the handle. Instead, they listen, empathize, and work towards a compromise that keeps everyone happy. So what is a compromise? A compromise is an agreement where each side gives up something. So you try to meet halfway. You say, okay, you want this, I want this. Neither of us can get really what we want, but we can meet halfway in a way that both you and I will be partly happy, partly unhappy. So it's an agreement where each side gives up something. For example, reaching a compromise can end many workplace conflicts. If you want to end your workplace conflicts, what you can do is meet halfway or reach a compromise, make compromise. All right, so that was our question here about resolving conflicts with emotional intelligence. We basically said when you have emotional intelligence, you can understand people, you understand where they're coming from, so you don't get offended. Instead, you try to find a win-win solution, and it helps to make compromise. Now, our next question is, what role does empathy play in emotional intelligence? I think empathy is a core thing when we talk about emotional intelligence. We're going to read a response and learn some vocabulary. The question is, what is the role of empathy in emotional intelligence? Empathy is the heart and soul of emotional intelligence. It's about sensing how others feel. When you empathize, you put yourself in someone's shoes and see the world from their perspective. This ability can help you connect with coworkers on a deeper level and avoid stepping on toes, creating a more positive work environment. I'm going to read it again part by part. Empathy is the heart and soul of emotional intelligence. Heart and soul of something means an essential and important part. Most important part. Heart and soul. For example, compassion is the heart and soul of nursing. So if you want to be a nurse, it's really important to have compassion. So compassion is the heart and soul of nursing. It's the most important part of it. It's about sensing how others feel. When you empathize is the verb version from empathy. It means to understand others' feelings. She can easily empathize with others' problems. As you see here, the apostrophe is after the S of others because it's a plural noun and we are making the possessive form, so we put the apostrophe after the S. And no need for another S, just one S is enough. Anyways, empathize is to understand people's feelings. You put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you put yourself in someone else's shoes, it means you see things from their perspective. For example, try to put yourself in someone else's shoes before judging them. If you ever want to judge someone, tell yourself, maybe I need to walk a mile in their shoes. Maybe I need to put myself in their shoes and see things from their perspective. And then I can judge them, maybe. This ability can help you connect with coworkers on a deeper level. A deeper level, it means more, better. And avoid stepping on toes. We talked about this before. Avoid stepping on toes means to not offend anyone, to avoid causing people feeling unhappy, causing people to feel unhappy. For example, being polite helps to avoid stepping on toes at work. If you want to avoid stepping on toes at work, what you need to do is to be polite, for example. So that's it. That's our question. It was about empathy and its role in emotional intelligence. Now we're going to continue with question 10. This question is, how can leaders show emotional intelligence? It's about leaders and showing emotional intelligence. What is the role of emotional intelligence in leadership, and how can leaders use emotional intelligence? You may want to pause the video and try to answer this question for yourselves. All right, now I'm going to read the response we have here and we're going to practice it. Leaders can show emotional intelligence by keeping their cool under pressure and being the rock their team can rely on. They listen actively and offer support without being asked. This is proactively, without being asked. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk by setting a good example. Leaders with emotional intelligence build trust and inspire their teams to reach new heights. I like this text. Lots of new vocabulary we can learn. Leaders can show emotional intelligence by keeping their cool. What does it mean to keep your cool? It means to stay calm, to remain calm. For example, good managers keep their cool during stressful situations. So leaders can show emotional intelligence by keeping their cool under pressure and being the rock their team can rely on. The rock means a dependable person. If people can rely on you, they can depend on you, if they know that you'll be there if they need you, then you are their rock. For example, she's the rock of our team, always there when we need her. So it means we can always rely on her. Also, at the end of the sentence, we have the phrase rely on. Rely on is depend on. If I rely on someone, it means I depend on that person. I know that person can help me. They listen actively and offer support without being asked. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. I think this idiom has biblical origins. I think it comes from Bible. So if you talk the talk, it means you speak and you don't take action. If you walk the walk, or also walk the talk, this is crazy. If you walk the walk or walk the talk, either of those two mean you take action according to your words. If you do what you have said, then you are walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So walk the walk, take action consistent with one's words. For example, leaders need to walk the walk and not just give orders. If you just give orders, that's not okay. You need to walk the walk. You need to set an example. Your team needs to look at you and say, wow, this is the person I want to be like. Not just someone who gives orders and never does anything properly themselves. So anyways, we learned the phrase talk the talk, just talking, and walk the walk, doing what you have said. Leaders with emotional intelligence build trust and inspire their teams to reach new heights. Build trust. Build trust means to create confidence. For example, honest communication helps to build trust within a team. And to reach new heights. Reach new heights means achieve greater success. Reach new heights means to achieve great success. For example, her ability to motivate her team helped the company reach new heights in sales and productivity. Her ability to motivate her team helped the company reach new heights in sales and productivity. So reach new heights, achieve high success. Okay, that's it for this video. We learned some expressions related to emotional intelligence, which is an important topic. Soft skills in general are very important these days. So I hope that you can review this video maybe multiple times if necessary. Pause the video at times. Try to answer the questions yourselves using the phrases that we have learned so that you will have practiced them in a controlled environment with the comfort of your home, when you pause, when you think, when you try, so that you can more easily use them in real life conversations. That's it for this video.